Welcome, viewers. It's going to be a busy day here at the homestead. In one of my prior videos, I was telling everybody that I was going to do a motor swap from one Volkswagen Jetta to the next. And the Volkswagen, this red one here, has an excellent engine in it, 1.6 diesel. I actually put this motor in this car a couple years back. But the car itself, well, it's not in the greatest shape, so no longer want the car itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this engine and I'm going to install it in this blue Volkswagen Jetta, which is in excellent shape. For the moment, it's in excellent shape anyhow. So yeah, and this engine in here, well, it's not in excellent shape. Kind of blew it up last fall. Overheated it and it seized solid. So it actually got so hot that let's see, give me a minute so I can stick this hood rod up. Okay, everything's became loose. It got so hot that everything became loose, and now it'll actually run. And I might, before I change it, take it out, because this motor here actually has very little kilometers, around 100,000 kilometers, and that's not very much for a 1.6 diesel. So what I may do first is remove the valve cover and see if I can't tighten up the head bolts a bit and see if that doesn't get things back sealed up. But as it sits right now, I believe that it got so hot that the head bolts themselves got stretched. And the head gasket just isn't sealing anymore. So I'm going to give it a try. I'm not too sure of the outcome. But I had to bypass the heater core, because the heater core has a leak. You can see how hot it got. You see inside that one tube how white it is? It's just incredible. That was the steam pressure. So I just coupled the two hoses together with a little piece of pipe in between the two. So I'm going to give that a try first to see how it turns out. But either way, the motor from the red car is going to come out here. And what I have to do is just remove the axle nuts, one on each side. And then on the transmission side, remove the nuts. Not the nuts, sorry, the bolts that hold it on, the axle itself. Unhook the exhaust system. Remove everything that needs to be removed. Undo everything that needs to be undone. Unbolt all the mounts. And it will be lifted out of here. And then there'll be just an empty shell left here. So I'm going to approach that here today. I'm not going to film it step by step, but I will throw some films in here and there, just to give you some update of how it's going. Okay, so bear with me. I'm going to get the process started. Busy day. Okay, folks, this is a continuation for the Volkswagen motor changeover. And where I'm at this moment is I'm removing the half shafts from the front drive system. And here's the passenger side half shaft. On the Volkswagens, you have some bolts that you have to remove on the transmission end of it. They're a unique torque bit is what they are. I can't remember how many points they are, but everybody that has Volkswagen would know exactly that. This particular one is a 1990. So what's involved with removing the axle is you undo the ball joint, lower ball joint. You got three bolts on the underside which can be removed, and I have the pliers here, you see, vice grips, to stop this shaft from turning when I'm undoing the bolts at the half shaft transmission end. And then once you have all them bolts removed, you can remove your locking pliers vice grips they call them, and free it up. And there's a great big axle nut here that needs to be removed. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the lower ball joint bolts, and I'll be back with you. Okay, lower ball joint bolts are removed. Next, what needs to happen is you need to knock out this, so the lower control arm is free. You need to pop out the half shaft, and I'm going to have to, that's why you want to free up this lower ball joint and the strut mechanism, so you can actually maneuver the strut mechanism. Makes it a lot easier to remove the half shaft from the spline up in your front wheel bearing. So I'm going to try and use a screwdriver. Actually, better yet, I'll use something a little bit bigger. If I can get it in here and pry it out. Now just give me a minute here. I'm just going to do some prying. I need both hands. Tripod's not going to help me out in this situation. Alright, I'll give you a close-up of some of the gravel. There we have it. Half shaft is removed. And then I'm going to place the ball joint back into the control arm. But I'm not going to put any bolts through it or anything. I'm going to put just a bolt through the top hole, just to keep it from sliding out. And then I'll put the wheel back on so I can roll it around a little bit. Put it in the top side. I need a little bit of assistance. There we have it. See it stick out the bottom there? That's just to keep it from sliding back out once I put the wheel back on it. And then next I'm going to remove the exhaust clips that hold the exhaust up to the manifold. You can see them clips there. There's a clip here, and there's a spring clip here. And they're actually really easy removing. Not as easy putting back on. And removing them, I just basically twist them. Twist them until they basically pop off. There's one. How simple that was. And then the other one's, of course, is going to be removed very simply too. There's the other one there. That freed up the exhaust. So the underside of this is complete. There's a motor mount. Front mount needs to be, there's a bolt, the main bolt, and then there's a little re-bolt that needs to be removed. And the bottom radiator hose needs to be removed. And then there is the linkage, but I do that from the top side. And then there's the other half shaft on the driver's side, which is the short one, which I already removed. So the underside of this is finished. Now I'm just going to put the wheel back on and lower the car back down to the ground so I can roll it around a little bit when I need to. And that's it for the underside. Not a whole lot involved, really. It's really dirty, though. See that? Ah, good thing they have soaps out there. It'll clean them back up to baby soft. Okay, I'll be back with you. Alright. the wheels back on and the car is lowered. Now we are making the approach to disconnect everything underneath the hood. So what's going to happen is I'll remove the battery. I'm going to remove the radiator and the fan shroud and all the radiator hoses and fuel lines, the top radiator hose, the breather box, transmission mount, transmission linkage, the clutch cable, the speedometer cable. Here's the clutch cable here. Speedometer cable is down in here, which is here. There's the mount, transmission mount over there, which I need to remove the bolt. And the linkage is just a matter of undoing these pins and pulling off these arms, and that frees the linkage up from the transmission. Undo all the starter wires and all the different connections. Fortunately, with this motor, there's not a whole lot of connections. There's very limited wire connections, which is really, really nice. Okay, I'll be back at you as I get everything unhooked as it needs to be before the motor can be removed. Well, we're ready to remove the engine. Everything is unconnected and tucked off to the side. All the wiring looks like a mess. All the cables and the motor itself and everything that's left with it will be removed in one piece. Transmission, motor, and now I'm just going to hook up the chain to these hooks here, and they'll go in the back, and I'll pull it out. I'm going to remove the hood. 4 bolts. Alright, I'll be back with you. Well, everything looks free. Everything's coming out somewhat straight. It's a little bit of an angle I actually need to give it the most available room to be removed from. So let's take a look. Everything's looking pretty good here. Back with you. What I ended up doing is putting a piece of plywood down where the motor mount is. So I never removed the radiator. I only removed the shroud. So I ended up putting a board here to protect it from the motor mount. You can see that little piece coming up down there. You know, a little shift inward, and I can just basically rip that aluminum radiator. Don't need that happening. Alright, back with elevation. Alrighty, I need to hop in the skid steer and lift it up a little bit more, straighten out the forks so it don't slide anymore, and lower it down and get it out of the way and start with the next car. The red one here needs to come out. Be back with you. Alright fellas, the red motor is out. Now it's going to go in the blue car and reassemble everything, and away we go. Well, that wasn't too bad. Now I just need to hook all the everything that needs to be hooked up, and the Volkswagen is back on the road. A little bit excited about that one. This happened last fall, so I'm glad to get this task out of the way. It was an unexpected moment. Wasn't having to expect to do this in the spring of 2014. But anyway, here we go. Almost finished. I'll be back at you. Alright, motor's back in. Everything underneath the hood is reattached. Batteries back installed. The only thing left now is to climb underneath the vehicle and install the half shafts and the exhaust system. And that's all. I'll be back with you. Okay, all back together. Let me see if it'll start up and how it runs. Pull the choke out. Oh, there we go. Typical diesel. You just like to run these things. Well, thank you for watching, fellas, but this vehicle is now complete. I just need to top up the antifreeze, but I don't have any, so I need to get some, and that's it. Ready for the drive. Again, thank you for watching, and subscribe if you would.